Hello, innovators. Today, we will be looking towards the stars. We're going to be building an Earth-Moon model that's going to help us explore the different phases of the moon and its relation to the sun. So, this project requires a couple of special pieces. We actually 3D printed the base. I've included the files in the YouTube link so that you can download them and use them, and some basic materials that you can find at home. So let's take a look at what we need and let's build our Earth-Moon model. All right, innovators, so for this project we're going to need some pieces that we printed with our 3D printer. These 3 pieces are going to serve as the base of our moon model, and I've included the files in the video description in case you have access to a 3D printer. You can make these at home. We're also going to need 2 barbecue skewers, some glue. You're going to need a piece of cardboard that you're going to glue your model onto, as well as some tape, a pair of good scissors, a pencil, and of course, you're going to need the Earth, Moon, and Sun. So I'm going to use this tennis ball as the Sun, and these 2 styrofoam balls as the Earth and Moon. So now we have everything that we need to start building. Let's get to work. Innovators, now that we have all the materials that we need to build, let's begin assembling our model. The really fun thing about this project is once you've assembled it, you can really use your creativity to make your model very unique. So let's get to work. Now, the first step in our model is actually gluing down the base to the piece of cardboard that we're using. So I'm going to use a little bit of glue, and remember you're going to want to let that dry. And I'm going to place my base right here in the middle. And I'm going to give it sufficient time to dry. Okay, perfect. Now, once we're done with that, we can go ahead and start working on the rest of the model. So, let's move this over. And the next step is going to be breaking up our barbecue skewers. Now, we're going to need one that's going to be fairly tall, that's going to hold the sun. So, we want to break this barbecue skewer about halfway. One technique I use is I put my two thumbs right at the point where I want to break it, and then I apply pressure. Nice clean cut. Now if you have any little pieces of bamboo that are sticking out, go ahead and take your scissors and you can just trim those fibers off. Now you want to make sure that you leave the pointy part up because that's what you'll stick the sun onto. So we'll set this aside. Now we're going to take our other barbecue skewer. Now you want to you're going to place the earth on this piece. So you want to make sure it's about half the length of the other skewer, or the other piece of skewer. So that looks good, and I'm going to go ahead and use the same technique to break it. There we go. Now, if you need the assistance of an adult, please do, and be really mindful not to poke yourself with the pointy ends of these barbecue skewers. Now, for the last piece, we're going to go ahead and we're going to break off another piece, probably about 1 inch long, and we're going to use this for the moon. So, about 1 inch, go ahead and apply pressure. That looks pretty good, and I'll trim off any extra. So now you have 3 pieces, 3 different lengths. Okay, now we're ready to assemble our project. So I'm going to gather everything up and we'll put our model together. All right, so innovators, we have our base ready. We have our pieces of barbecue skewer, and we have the 3 elements to build our model. Okay. Now we're going to grab the other parts that we need in order to build our model, and I'm going to use some tape. Now, the reason I'm using tape is we want to make sure that the pieces of barbecue skewer that we insert into our model are nice and snug. So I'm going to go ahead, and the end that's going to go into the base, I'm going to wrap a couple of layers of tape. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this end with some tape like this, just to make it a little bit thicker. Okay. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and trim the extra tape off of the end, and I'm going to try it out on my base. There we go. Now it's a little bit more snug. It's tight and it's not wiggling around. But we want to make sure that it stays in there. So I'm going to go ahead and use my glue. I'm going to put a little bit of glue inside of that opening, and now I'll go ahead and insert my skewer. Perfect. Now, the next step is you're going to take this bracket here, and you'll notice that one side has a hole that goes all the way through and the other one doesn't. You want to insert the one that has the hole through this barbecue skewer. You want to make sure that you're able to spin it all the way. Great, that looks really good. Okay. Now, we're going to want to take this small piece of barbecue skewer that we cut really small one here. Okay, and we're going to do the same trick, but only to one end. We're going to wrap half of it up in tape. Okay, and I'll go ahead and do that. Again, just to make it nice and snug. I'll cut off any extra tape here on the end. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to insert that here. And again, I'll use a little bit of glue in order to secure it. Okay. Go ahead and insert that. Should be nice and snug. Okay. Now, we're going to use this piece. Okay. Now, you want to make sure that this end of this little bracket is inserted into that piece of skewer, and if everything goes right, you should be able to spin it like that. Okay. Now, this is if it's too loose. In my case, it's a little loose. I'm going to take a small piece of tape, not that long, just a little one, and I'm going to wrap it around this end of the barbecue skewer piece like that. I will trim any extra like this, and I'm going to go ahead and insert this piece. It still spins, but now it's a little bit tighter. Excellent. Now, we're almost done. We're going to take the medium-sized piece with the pointy end. We'll apply some tape to this barbecue skewer like so. And this is going to be the piece that holds the earth. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that there, and I'm going to insert it in here just to test it, make sure it's nice and snug. Perfect. I'll add some glue, just like that. Now remember, if you're using white glue, you want to let all these pieces dry, but if you're using a glue gun, it'll dry instantly. So this is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my earth. Just like that. And now this little piece here we're going to use for our moon. So I'm going to take the remaining barbecue skewers and I'm going to cut a little piece. Like so. And I'm going to insert that there. Now I notice that it's a little short, right? I want the moon to be up here. So I'm actually going to use a slightly longer piece. And innovators, let's take a look at what we've done so far. So we've glued our base down to this piece of cardboard. We've secured our popsicle sticks, right? And we also were able to secure our small earth and our moon. Now the only thing that's missing is the sun. I used this tennis ball. I drilled a little hole in here, and now I'm able to insert it into this barbecue skewer. Now, once it's secure, there's my sun, earth, and moon. The awesome thing about this model is that it allows me to explore the different moon phases. Now, innovators, it takes the moon about a little over 29 days to complete a whole cycle, right? Now, you always have to remember that the moon does not emit its own light. What it's doing is it's reflecting the light from the sun. And so what we see is part of that reflection. Innovators, let's take a closer look at our cool Earth-Moon model. Now, as I explained earlier, the moon itself does not give off any light, but it does reflect light from the sun. So as it orbits around the Earth and the Earth orbits around the sun, we see different portions of the half of the moon that's always lit. Okay, because remember, half of the moon is always facing the sun, so half of it is always lit. But how much of that side we see really depends on the moon cycle, right? Where it is around the Earth, and that creates the moon cycle in the different phases. So when the moon is facing the sun, right, and we see the entire half that's lit, that's a full moon. Well, sometimes we may only see a quarter of the moon, or sometimes we may see even less of the side that's lit. So this model is great at illustrating those different phases of the Earth-Moon cycle. Now remember, it's not completely to scale, but it does allow us to illustrate this incredible phenomenon. So, innovators, now that we've completed it, this is the best part. You can use your creativity to design and decorate your different models. I'm going to use a little bit of paint and maybe some cotton to create little clouds on my Earth, and then I might use a black Sharpie to decorate my moon. And I like my sun tennis ball. So, with that said, innovators, remember to always think critically and to think creatively and have fun with your Earth-Moon model, explaining and exploring the different phases of the moon. So, until next time, thanks for participating and building this awesome model, and I'll see you then.